Hey, this is Sammy again. What's factoring and why do we factor? Let's answer this question. So here's a couple of questions that I'm gonna expand and foil. And we gotta do this to understand why or what's factoring. So let's foil this together. So all of us remember that when we foil, we take the first term here, multiply it into the first of the second brackets and in the second here. So this goes into here, into there, and then this goes into here and into there. So what we'll get x times x, which is x squared, x times positive 2x, which give me plus 2x, and then negative 2 times x, which gives me negative 2x. And we have negative 2 times positive 2 gives me negative 4. Now collect like terms. This and this will cancel because they're positive and negative, and we end up with x squared minus 4. So that's the first one. Okay. Now let's do the second one. So if we're doing this, we do the same thing, this into this into that, and then this into this and into that. So we're going to get x squared minus 3x minus 5x plus 15. We're going to collect like terms. So x squared minus, that's going to give me negative 8x plus 15. So that's expansion. So now, since I've shown you how to expand, I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to ask you to go and hit that like button, comment on my video, share with family and friends so they could benefit, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel so you give me more energy to go and load more videos. I do load videos on a daily basis, and I hope this is helping a lot of students. The feedback has been amazing. So this is what I'm doing it. I'm doing it for you. So please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. And now I'm going to show you the other part and what's factoring and why we factor. Now let's look at this from a different perspective. I'm going to give you x squared minus 4. And I'm going to say factor this. When you're factoring this, we know this is the difference of squares. So we factor it into x minus 2 and x plus 2. When we learn about factoring, we know that when you're factoring a binomial and it's perfect squares, we call it the difference of squares. All you need to do is just put an x here, an x there, and then the square root of that number, put it here and there, and then one is negative, one is plus. Okay. Now let's go into here and take the x squared minus 8x plus 15. Let's factor this. So when we factor a trinomial, basically we look for two numbers that multiply to give me 15. And that's the first thing you need to think, not think of what adds to give me a negative 8. You have to think what multiplies to give you 15 first, and then adds to give me negative 8. So when you look at the options of multiplying to give you 15, it's 1 and 5 and 3 and 5. Out of the one, multiplying to 15 is 1 and 15. So 1 and 15, are you able to get a difference of 8? Definitely not. How about the next option, which is 5 and 3? Yes, because if we make the 5 negative and the 3 negative, when you multiply them, you get positive 15, and when you add them, you get negative 5. Therefore, you put an x here, an x there, and then your factors that do this for you, as we agreed, negative 5 and negative 3. Now that's going to bring us to the first question that we asked. What's factoring? Factoring is the opposite of expansion. So basically now we're going this way and getting this answer. When we expanded, we went this way and we had this. So basically what it means factoring basically is getting back to what I expanded to get x squared minus 4. So the factoring is the opposite of expansion or foiling. So that's what we did at the beginning when we started doing algebra. Before we went into factoring, we had to do this. Now, when you factor, basically you're working backwards to get there. Of course, you don't want to go through these steps, there are tools we use in our head to factor. Difference of squares, I told you about that. And then when it's a cubic function, like when it's a trinomial like this, sorry, not cubic, but trinomial function like this, we follow this rule right here. So that's what factoring is all about, is the opposite of expansion. All right. And again, we have this and we get this back when we factor. So basically we're telling everybody that this here came from the expansion of this. That's what factoring is. Now, the other question, why do we factor? So here, if I make this equal 0 and I ask you what x value, here, if you sub in a number that you sub in for x, it will give you 0. You might be able to see it here and you tell me, yeah, 2, because 2 squared minus 4 will give you 0, because 2 squared is 4 minus 4, and you will miss maybe the -2. Okay. We factor to figure out why, or why we factor is to figure out the number that makes this, and that's one of the reasons, by the way, is to figure out the number that will make this expression equal 0. So therefore, x has to be, here is -2 and +2, so we could express this as plus or minus 2. Maybe this is easier to see, but how about here if I say this equals 0, and therefore when you factor equals 0, if you don't do this, like just block this for a second here, okay? And look at this, and I say, you know what x value or what number when you plug it in for x here will give you 0. There's no way you're going to be able to see this right away. Like, oh yeah, I know exactly what it is. This and that. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing math for, it will be hard, and of course factoring gets even more complicated than this. So once we factor though, and we look at this, let me get rid of this. Now when I have this, I know exactly what makes this expression 0. To make that expression 0, I have to make x, let me go back and get rid of that stuff. I'll have to make x equals 5 or 3 to make the expression 0. Because once you factor it, you look at each one here and say, how can I make x minus 5 equals 0? Of course, if you make x positive 5, this will become 0. And how can I make x minus 3 equals 0? Of course, I have to make the x3 to make that 0. Now, if you want to go and test it, you could just go and take the 3, for instance, or the 5. Start with the 5, sub it into here. So you'll end up with 5 squared minus 8 times 5 plus 15, which gives me 25 minus 40 plus 15. And be assured 25 plus 15 is 40 minus 40. That will give you 0. Also, if you do it for the 3 squared minus 8 times 3 plus 15, that will give you 9 minus 24 plus 15. And 9 plus 15 is 24 minus 24 is 0. And see, you sub in any other number, you will not get 0. These are the only two numbers that make this expression become 0. And you could only see it by factoring. If you don't factor, then you'll have to start going through the numbers one by one. Let's try the 1, let's try 2, let's try 3, let's try 4, let's try 5, let's try 6. And if you're smarter about it and you don't want to factor, then you look at the factors of 15. You say the factors of 15 are 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and you try these numbers to see what gives you 0. But listen, we still need to do this. We really need to learn how to factor, because factoring, there's more causes or more reasons that we factor. It's not just what makes this expression equal 0, but we do factoring for more reasons. But this is one of the most reasons why we factor. Of course, you always need to ask what, why, and how, especially in math. Don't ask why we study math or what do we need math for. You do definitely need math. Math will make you smarter. Your analytical thinking will become a lot faster. And that's why we do math. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that like button, share with family and friends, and subscribe to my channel. Till next time, bye-bye.